Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, we're getting ready for 2025. Hear a brief overview of what's coming down the pike as far as high-yielding Merschman wheat, soybeans, and PowerCore Enlist corn. Hear what you'll get in the PowerCore Enlist trait package. Ben and Joe explain the soybean selection process to bring the highest-yielding soybeans to your farm.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have Ben, Lynn, and Turk, and we're going to talk a little bit about product again, right, Ben?
That's right. So we just wrapped up our July sales meeting with all of our area sales managers, and that typically means one thing. We're putting the bow on the 23-24 sales season, and we're getting ready for 24-25. So to kind of prime the pump here for folks, wanted to maybe give a brief overview of the new foundational changes that we got going on in the seed guide, and get everyone excited and ready to go for the sales season that's coming up in 2 weeks. I mean, really, we'll get going. So just kind of wanted to quiz you a little bit on, we'll start with wheat. That's going to be the first thing that's on guys' minds here from a planting standpoint. So Ben, from a step change, what do we got going on in the seed guide with changes in wheat?
Well, it's already happening. I mean, part of our step change we've talked about is these hyper early lines, being able to be 2 to 3 days earlier than potentially even than some of our ultra early lines that we have out there. We've been getting calls from Indiana. I got a call last night from Ohio. These guys are seeing, what is this hyper early? There's a lot of excitement around these hyper earlies and these ultra early lines. And the number one question or the number one thing that they're always looking for is it's all about double crop yield. If they could get in the field before the 4th of July, if they could harvest that wheat at 18% or 22% and dry it down with a dryer, if they could get in the field in June, which is extremely possible for basically our latitude and south, if they could get in the field, get that wheat out, get their double crops planted, then they can make something more than 30 bushel an acre. And I think that's extremely possible. So we're catching a lot of attention when it comes to our hyper early and our ultra early lines, and I think we're going to see huge step changes, not for this coming sales season, but the following sales season. We're going to bring in new medium early lines too. That'll just knock guys' socks off. So I'm really, really excited. I'm even working a year ahead of you. So,
and we had a picture this week from Minnesota, a wheat field that looked like hadn't been harvested yet, but it looked like it was going to be 120 plus, didn't it, Ben?
Oh yeah, and we could throw those pictures up. But yeah, the grower said that he's never seen wheat look as good as this, and I believe that one is a Maddie field in Minnesota.
So that'd be a medium early.
Yep, that's our medium early, high yielding line. And we had our sales meeting this week. Guys basically running up the eastern half of Iowa that planted wheat for the first time. We're hearing 120s, we're hearing 118s, we're hearing 115 bushel per acre. Guys have never raised wheat like that. The salesman for that area would be your son, Turk, and he said I could, quadruple my wheat growth again this year. So there's a lot of excitement around wheat. If we could get a little bit of price help from the markets, it definitely can tie up to what we can out gross profit the acre that is less productive than your prime farm ground with a wheat double crop soybean back to back.
Yeah, and we're going to start some radio ads on August 1st. You'll probably hear them, and we're just talking about how, particularly in a farming operation, are getting bigger and bigger. How do you take away some of that stress from trying to get everything covered? Like last spring, it was tough to get across the ground. Well, if you plant some wheat in the fall, that's that many less acres you got to manage in the spring. So the farmers are figuring out this is a good rotation, great for like you say, your marginal ground. You can get those gross dollars up to equal what you're hopefully doing on your best ground with the double crop option, and that's been the limiting factor around here is we couldn't get the wheat yields, and we couldn't get the double crop in where it was 50-50 crop that you'd even get a crop. So now it's working.
Right.
You do the math on that, and I think you're going to beat corn or soybeans by themselves every time.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep. That 100 bushel wheat mark is getting more and more achievable for the average grower. You're not spending a ton of money. The wheat varieties and the genetics that are coming out of it are putting the yield out there that we need in consistency. There weren't very many growers that raised a sub 70 bushel wheat crop, and that's from our entire sales footprint.
And we're looking at pretty minimalistic from a management standpoint in those instances. So it's not like you have to be a wheat expert to grow high yielding wheat with the way the genetic improvement has gone on in these wheat varieties.
Yeah, the fungicide I think is very, very, very important to do, and then also managing your P and K and sulfur in the fall, and then that splitting that nitrogen up, and it's not a real complex formula, but if you want to get more complex, you want to get into raising 150, 160 bushel wheat, which is possible today. There's ways to do that too, but it takes a higher level of management.
Yep. It takes growth regulators. It takes foliar nutrition. It takes multiple fungicide applications. But yes, you are.
But the genetic potential is there to do that, and much more.
Yep. And there's a lot of guys learning too around this sphere, and I guess we're kind of diving off into a different subject, but 15-inch planters, you can still achieve 100 plus bushel wheat and with 15-inch planters that are actually putting the wheat in the ground and not necessarily a drill. And there are more and more guys talking about spreading the wheat with their phosphorus, VTing that wheat. Now you got to plant a higher rate. You got to be at that 2 million, 2.2, maybe 2.3 million seeds per pound, but
per acre.
Yep, sorry, per acre. And then you just VT that wheat in the ground, and they can't see a difference from when they drill it. So
actually, Stephen, ASM for down in southern Missouri, said they're actually getting a yield bump from those operations versus using their drill. So
yep. So there's a lot of excitement around the wheat thing, and I think it's going to be a big wheat year this coming year.
Well, that'd be fast, easy process, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Yep.
So we're going to transition from wheat. The next one on our seed guide that has a lot of what we would say buzz in the marketplace is the PowerCore corn. So what's new on the PowerCore side of things, and what are you excited about for the upcoming product guide?
Well, let's talk just a little bit before we go into the actual products, but let's just talk about how this PowerCore is coming off the assembly line. It is a Corteva trait, okay? And this is going to be going into our third year. So, one of the major companies out there, Corteva companies out there, just starting to talk about, well, why the lag? And I said, well, it's kind of like Merschman seeds. If we're in a rowboat, we can turn around really fast. If you're an aircraft carrier, like some of these big companies are, it takes a little bit of time to turn that aircraft carrier around. So the fact that we could move faster, and we're not trying to cover the whole United States, we're a regional company, we can just go faster. And so we have, going on 3 years of experience with these products now, and we're really ramping them up. So, if you go to a Merschman plot, you're primarily going to see PowerCore varieties. You go to one of the other companies, one of the big guys, you might see just a handful maybe or less. So all I'm saying is it's a good product, it's got good genetics, and the trait is fantastic for farmers. So I'll turn it over to you now, Ben.
Yeah, no, there's lots of excitement. I get pictures from guys, and we can throw a few up here. The first picture is of 108 day on some local acres. A lot of 18s around, a lot of length. It's very, very, very it's a very flexy style of hybrids that we are working with. So, when you're running 18 around, a solid 40, 45 long, there's some tremendous yield potential here. The next one is a picture of some 113 day, same style. Both of those products throw a real long, girthy ear in that 18 to 20s around. Great yield potential out of these products that growers are sending pictures in. So we have probably the most excitement coming around our 2512 C-30 this coming year. We talked about how wide the leaves are. It would really remind you of, there's a Pioneer product out there called Pioneer 1027. It has a real wide leaf on it, and it's one of their game changers that they're moving forward with to try to replace 1197. So there's a lot of excitement around that product. I have guys from all over our sales footprint that are taking pictures of that and keeping notes on that product. So there's just a lot of excitement built in. I think we are in the exact position that we need to be by offering PowerCore products, and then for the high density narrow row guys, we have the Stein in our back pocket because we are a distributor for Stein corn. We have the full portfolio. So if you're looking at the Bayer folks, or if you're looking at the Corteva folks that they're talking about their short corn, we have that in a program that has been doing it longer than anybody else.
They invented it. They invented it.
So we have that side of things, plus we have the more traditional style of corn hybrid that has a lot of flex, a lot of height, can handle variable soils, can handle stress, can run on the very, very productive ground, can work in 20-inch rows if it needs to. I mean, it's just a lot of excitement around the corn, and I think we're going to see great things this year.
Let's just describe what PowerCore, what do you get when you buy a PowerCore trait? What do you get?
You get a lot of flexibility. So that flexibility comes with a herbicide program. You get a product that you can spray Roundup, Liberty, Enlist 1 up to 48 inches with drops. I think it's 32 without drops. So
which is 2,4-D.
Yep, which is a 2,4-D product. And then you can spray FOPs when you're in corn on corn to kill off PowerCore volunteer corn that's out in that field. So if you didn't plant PowerCore the year before, you can use Assure 2 to kill glyphosate-resistant weeds and then volunteer corn.
And then on the insect side, above ground?
Yep, we got an above ground trait that gives 3 modes of action. So it is a double pro plus a herp gene, which gives you suppression against black cutworm, which is better than the standard double pro that's out in the bear camp right now.
So we even actually are going to be coming out with an option for rootworm if you have low to medium infestations too for PowerCore corn. You might talk just a little bit about that.
Yep, we have a bioinsecticide control. We'll be talking more in depth about that in future episodes. But if you're in your corn on corn ground with moderate pressure, there's a lot of guys that'll do a 2-year corn on corn, then rotate to soybeans. For those guys that aren't in the 30-year corn on corn and have terrible pressure and they're fighting it with the Smart Stack Pros and Chromes and Duracades of the world when they're fighting those, we don't have a magic silver bullet for that one, but for the guys that have moderate pressure, we have a biocontrol that is a planter box treatment that customers will have access to as well.
So it makes the package work on those lower infestation type fields. So.
Yep, don't count us out on those acres because we have solutions for that.
Yeah. Plus we got the conventional lineup coming in a Merschman bag as well.
Yes, and we have some of the best people in the world producing it, and I'm very confident that we're going to get very, very high quality, pure, conventional non-GMO seed for the growers that want to chase that premium as well.
And these are the same genetics as some of the PowerCore products that we have, except that they don't have the PowerCore trait.
Correct.
So we know there's a pretty good sized non-GMO market out there, premiums there. So we're expanding in that area to help those customers.
A lot of excitement.
All right, so our bread and butter, soybeans. We have a lot of products coming into the seed guide. That's what I would consider a step change from a management standpoint. We're looking at adding several peaking lineups to the offering for this year. We aren't getting rid of the old reliables, the ones that have been our top sellers. Just had this discussion last night with my brother-in-law, who's a seed grower, that the Austins are in the lineup, but I told him, I said, don't get too excited about maybe hauling into Merschman's, because we got some new products coming in that some of the old guard is starting to lose their place in the lineup, but they're still extremely stable products that we're proud of. But these new varieties that are coming into the lineup offer a lot of diversity and yield potential for our growers.
Yep, they're definitely giving the older products a run for their money. So I have been very, very, very hesitant to put Peking soybeans in the book, that just to have Peking in the book, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have something that is going to be a dog when you don't have high soybean cyst nematode levels. So you've seen we've been pretty reluctant. We've had the Osage. The Osage was a very strong bean. It was a 2020 launch, and I haven't replaced it because I just didn't feel there were very many options that would even yield up to what that Osage's yield range was. So we're really excited. We have a 3-3 offering coming in as a Jefferson. That's a Peking. We had it out as an experimental in test plots. It won a lot of test plots from Champaign to Nebraska last year, so big footprint. Nice product that'll fit a lot of acres. We have it's a 2.6, which will fit a lot of acres as well. That one is taking the Osage's name. Very, very excited about that one. That one was raised locally here last year. That's another one that won some test plots that it was in as an experimental last year, and then we got a 2-2. So we're getting a little bit earlier in the new Chippewa. So we have a 25 series Chippewa that is going to be a Peking. So we have 3 new options, and I probably have 5 to 6 more that are coming in behind for the following sales season. We're just keeping an eye on them. We're going to reevaluate them this fall, see how the MS Tech data looks, and you may be seeing even more in our lineup from that aspect.
Yeah, you have to understand in the breeding, when they put things together, when you bring in like a cyst nematode trait like Peking, they're very hard to work with, and there's multiple genes involved with that, and typically they come back with a little bit of baggage that they'll give you the good nematode resistance, but they don't give you the top end yield. And it takes a lot of time and effort in a breeding program to decouple that drag. And when Ben's looking at these genetics, he's looking at them, I want the top yielder. And then he goes, oh, it's got Peking. And we go, that's even better yet. So that's kind of how we look at it. I know a lot of companies are making noise about all the Pekings they got. And all I can say is be careful. Make sure they got the yield. Check them out in non-cyst nematode fields and low levels or whatever, and make sure they're the top yielders, because otherwise you're buying Peking. It's like having the best race car engine you can possibly put in your race car, but you got 2 flat tires. You're just not going to go very fast. So that's my take on that. But our breeding program is bringing on the Pekings like crazy in the Enlist trait, and that's going to be another step change out there, because cyst nematodes are the number 1 yield robber when it comes to the number 1 pest for taking more yield away than any other pest. It's soybean cyst nematodes. Now, when we use starting line plus, we are giving you some protection from with Trinemco, which is but it helps. But if we could put Trinemco with Peking, we'd be pretty bulletproof.
Yep. That's the best. It's the best nematicide on the market. You pair that with Sultro, which messes with the respiratory system of the soybean cyst nematode. So we got 3 modes of action that direction. You throw Peking at it. It is literally the most solid defense against soybean cyst nematode that you can, that's available on the market today. So we're very, very excited.
So, yep, I think that kind of covers some of at least what we think is things that should be exciting to farmers. Of course, we get excited about seed every day, and so it's not hard for us to get excited, but we really do think we're making step changes and trying to move the needle for yield, because at the end of the day, farmers, we got commodity prices coming down, we got inflation in place. The only way you're going to survive is you got to raise more yield. You get that to lower your cost per bushel. So we're working very hard, and then also we are doing everything possible to make sure that we're not adding to inflation with our seed prices. So, and I think that's one of the things, when you get ready to buy your seed, you're going to be very happy with Merschman Seeds pricing.
You are absolutely correct. As a side note, I think guys need to be out and scouting. We talked about the rust last week. We talked about tar spot last week, but we are seeing tar spot show up in plots. It sounds like it's coming in pretty hot and heavy in the south, in our southern footprint. So, and Dylan is seeing stuff in the plot over here, this week, which is new from last week. So, be getting out, be scouting. If you haven't made your fungicide application yet, and you're waiting and you're holding to pull the trigger, just keep scouting, because I think with the amount of moisture that we've had, it just keeps continuing. Right. I think we're probably on 18 days,
at least
20 days of wet dews in the morning, and these cooler temperatures are just, we are setting up for disease like mad. You couldn't probably make a more perfect picture at this point. So be ready to protect the crop that you have out there.
Yeah, and you got to get ahead of it. Once you see that first tar spot, that means 2 weeks later you're going to see a lot more.
Yep.
So by the time you get a lot more, then you might have missed the boat.
Yep.
Turk, do you have anything for us?
Talk a little bit about the weather. I think the trade's looking at a 184 now on the yield on corn, and like Ben just said, we couldn't get more ideal weather than what we're having right now for this corn crop to finish. Drought map come out yesterday, and showed that that large areas that were in the dry got rain last week. So now there's just southern Ohio and Pennsylvania, and maybe a little bit over in Kentucky, eastern Kentucky, that remain to be dry and look like they're going to need some more rain. But in general, the crop is get big and getting bigger every day. And the 30-day forecast come out and looking at 30 days of below average or below normal or lower temperatures, and so no heat in sight. I guess is what I'm saying. And when we start getting into the last half of August, 30 days out, we're getting in at that time of year where things start cooling off anyway. So I don't know how you could have a better picture for a high yielding formula.
Correct. If you manage to miss the hail, if you manage to stay out of the flood, if you manage to get the corn in the ground and you got good stands, if you are in that category right now, you are setting up for needing all of those bushels to be profitable.
On that note, we had that derecho come through, and we were there was very little corn that got blowed over, and that's just a testament to the condition of this crop and how viable it is and the root systems are.
Yeah, so the big question is, how many acres did we lose with all these problems we have? Obviously the floods took, some are saying 1 million acres out, so those all got to get factored in, physically into the market. I think mentally they're already factored in, but we'll see.
Yep.
Well, last week's joke, I actually had a complaint. Somebody texted me and said, Joe, those jokes were terrible. Okay? They're absolutely terrible.
That's the first time you've heard that?
Well, no. So anyhow, I thought I'd come up with one that at least hopefully you would repeat to your friends and neighbors, okay? And this is a story, okay? And as we were talking about hot jokes last week, I say, well, I'm going to stay with the hot joke theme, okay? 3 men were in the middle of Death Valley when their car broke down. Not a good place to be, right? For the long hike to town, they each decided that they would take one thing with them. One man took a jug of water. The second man took a sandwich. And the last man took one of the doors off the car. First man said, I'm bringing water because if we get thirsty, we can have a drink. He turned to the second man and said, I get it, why you would bring a sandwich in case we get hungry. Turning to the last man, he said, why are you bringing a car door? And the man said, duh, if we get hot, we can just roll the window down.
Yeah.
That's a little better. Come on, give me a little bit. Anyhow, if you're a farmer, and you're out, a lot of times you roll the window down, so you're going to relate to that one pretty good, I bet. Anyhow, thanks for watching today. We sincerely appreciate your business. Hope your family is healthy and safe. We'll see you next week.